November 1977. ABBA is topping the charts, inflation is topping paychecks, and Britain is figuring out that putting carpet in a car doesn't make it luxury, unless it's in a Range Rover. On this week's Top Gear, there were no fireworks, no shouting, and certainly no Hammond flying off a mountain. Just 3 cars, 1 film reel, and the unmistakable sound of leaf springs and soft jazz. But this episode hit different, because these weren't just cars, they were ideologies. First up, the Range Rover 3-door, built to farm sheep on Friday and attend a country wedding on Saturday. It looked like a toolbox, drove like a van, and somehow became a status symbol before anyone noticed. Then, the BMW E21 3 Series, the car that taught Britain what handling meant. It was rear-wheel drive, meticulously built, and came with more gauges than most airplanes. BMW didn't just make a saloon, they made a mission statement. And finally, the Volvo 244DL. A Swedish box of steel that valued safety, honesty, and never going more than 58 miles per hour. It was so square it made milk cartons look edgy. And yet, it worked. This isn't just an episode about cars, it's about confidence, one that wears waxed jackets, one that sharpens pencils with Teutonic precision, and one that brings a lunchbox full of Gravlax and a 3-point seatbelt. So throw on your sheepskin coat, dial in your Blaupunkt, and brace yourself for a ride through off-road ambition, Autobahn aggression, and Nordic indestructibility. This is 4 Wheels and Fuel, Episode 8. Where torque meets tweed, and not a hatchback in sight.
It's something quite new. It's 4 cars in one. It has the comfort of a luxury saloon, the road holding of a high-performance car, the capacity of an estate car, and it's go anywhere like a Land Rover.
Range Rover 3-door. This is the Range Rover 3-door, launched in 1970 but still thundering across muddy fields and Kensington driveways in 1977. It was Britain's first luxury off-roader. Well, not in the early years, but later on, the Range Rover would become a symbol of luxury. And by luxury, we mean power steering, carpeted floors, and maybe air conditioning. But don't let the boxy looks fool you. This thing was revolutionary. Land Rover had taken everything that made their series trucks unstoppable and added comfort. Sort of. Leaf springs were out, coil springs were in. You still bounced around, just more gracefully. Under the bonnet, a detuned 3.5-litre all-aluminium V8, borrowed from Buick. It made around 130 horsepower, more than enough to climb a hill, cross a river, or pull a horse box through a bog in Surrey. Top speed? About 95 miles per hour. But let's be honest, if you were doing more than 60, the aerodynamics were praying for forgiveness. Inside it was still Spartan. Vinyl seats, rubber mats, and a plastic dashboard. The kind of interior you could hose out after chasing sheep or Labradors. But it had visibility for days. You sat tall, looked over hedges, and judged everyone beneath you, literally. And the off-road capability? Unreal. Permanent 4-wheel drive, a locking center diff, and ground clearance that let you straddle small boulders like you were stepping over a mildly inconvenient empire. But the real magic? It worked just as well in the mud as it did outside Harrods. Farmers loved it. Royalty drove it. Builders parked it next to Bentleys, and nobody batted an eye. Sure, it leaked. The electrics were moody, and if you hit a puddle wrong, the carpets might float. But that was part of the charm. The Range Rover didn't care what people thought. It was too busy being useful. It was a hay bale in a tuxedo, a castle on coil springs. And it proved one thing very clearly: luxury doesn't need polish, just presence.
Das Streben nach Vollkommenheit ist auch beim Automobil nicht billig, aber lohnend. Es gibt jetzt ein neues Format für die Mittelklasse. Die kompakten BMW 316, 318, 320 und 320i. Diese neuen BMW besitzen bei Triebwerk und Fahrwerk, beim Innenraumkomfort und beim Systemangebot passiver Sicherheitseinrichtungen die Solidität und die überlegene Technik der BMW-Automobile großer Klassen. Übertragen und neu abgestimmt auf kompakteste Dimensionen. Wenn Sie also merken, dass Ihre Ansprüche den Standard der Mittelklasse verlassen haben, sollten Sie das Gleiche tun. Mit dem neuen BMW.
BMW E21 3 Series. Now for the car that made accountants feel like race car drivers. This is the BMW E21 3 Series, launched in 1975, and by 1977 already climbing the company car ladder like it had stock options. It wasn't loud, it wasn't brash, but it had one thing most cars in Britain didn't: balance. Although the BMW 1502 was built until 1977, the E21 had already replaced the legendary 02 series. And by legendary, I mean BMW's very first turbocharged rocket, the 2002 Turbo. You can probably imagine the E21 had some very big shoes to fill, so BMW sharpened the edges, tidied the bodywork, and added just enough chrome to remind you this was still West Germany, only now with suits and spreadsheets. Under the bonnet in 1975, options ranged from a modest 1.6-litre carburetted four-cylinder in the 316, a 1.8-litre carburetted four-cylinder in the 318, to a 2-litre carburetted four-cylinder in the 320. Later that year, a 2-litre port-injected four-cylinder was introduced for the 320i, leading up to the 2-litre carburetted six-cylinder in the 320 and a 2.3-litre fuel-injected inline-six in the 323i in 1977. For this episode, most likely the 316, 89 horsepower, single round headlights, and just enough grunt to make your manager smile on a back road. The gearbox, a 4-speed manual with the snick of a rifle bolt. The steering, unassisted, direct and talkative, like a German uncle with opinions on everything. And the chassis? Rear-wheel drive, of course, because turning corners should be earned, not gifted. Inside, it was all business. Bucket seats, firm dash, and a center console angled toward the driver. A design BMW would cling to for decades. But even the E21 had quirks: no passenger mirror, heating controls that looked less like ventilation sliders and more like a DJ's mixing desk, and a gear knob shaped like a rubber doorknob you'd expect to find on a drafty 1970s office block. It wasn't soft, it wasn't cheap, but it felt right. And that was the point. British saloons wafted. The E21 danced. It didn't isolate you from the road. It handed you the road, then asked politely if you knew what to do with it. Not perfect, though. The rear suspension could snap sideways in the wet, and rust came free with every chrome bumper. Still, the E21 wasn't trying to be your mate. It was trying to be your promotion. And it usually worked. This wasn't just a compact saloon, it was a dynasty in the making. Did you know that the BMW 315, sold from 1981 to 1983, was the most stripped-down E21 of them all? A detuned 1.6-litre engine with just 74 brake horsepower, exposed bumper cap bolts, no map pockets in the doors, a vinyl-covered parcel shelf, no toolbox under the boot lid, and outdated R2 double-filament headlamps instead of modern H4 units. The 315 was built for one reason: to squeeze every last kilometer out of a liter of fuel. It looked like a 3 Series. It even felt like a 3 Series, but drive it and you'd swear someone had pulled the spark plugs out. This was economy driving long before BMW gave it a fancy name like efficient dynamics. You're probably thinking this car could never have been broadcast in 1977. And you're right. But I bet you didn't know this. Or did you? Let us know in the comments below.
Instead of changing models every year, Volvo engineers the car they've got as strongly as possible. This Swedish logic produces a classic car that needs fewer services than most, and a safety record that is unsurpassed. So when you see a Volvo go by, think about this. That Volvo is built to last an average of 16.2 years. It'll be there long after today's fashion trends are dead and buried. Volvo, an investment in Swedish logic.
Volvo 244DL. And now for the car that looked like it came from IKEA, but was built to survive the end of days. This is the Volvo 244DL, Sweden's unshakable contribution to 1970s motoring. It wasn't fast, it wasn't glamorous, but if you wanted a car that could outlive its driver and still pass an MOT, this was it. Launched in 1975, the 244 was the middle child in Volvo's new 240 series. The DL trim stood for Deluxe, which in Volvo terms meant cloth seats, a heated rear window, and no rev counter. It was a saloon, had 4 proper doors, and more right angles than a geometry textbook. Under the bonnet, usually a 2.1-litre 4-cylinder red block engine. A near-indestructible lump of cast iron designed more for longevity than horsepower. In DL spec, it made around 96 horsepower, but felt like less. You didn't accelerate, you gathered speed. Gradually, politely. The gearbox? A 4-speed manual with a long throw and the mechanical charm of a vending machine. But it worked. Every time. Inside, it was pure Scandinavian functionality. Upright seats, logical switches, an upright dash designed for people who preferred instructions over intuition. And of course, the pièce de résistance. A massive padded dashboard so thick so you could survive a collision and take a nap afterward. Safety was the real headline. Volvo was obsessed. Crumple zones, energy-absorbing steering column, reinforced doors. The 244DL came with Volvo's trademark 3-point belts up front, proof it cared more about saving lives than lap times. You didn't drive a 244, you entered it, like a nuclear bunker on wheels. And then there were the quirks. Massive door handles, asymmetrical HVAC sliders, a massive steering wheel, tiny rounded chrome side mirrors on a car as square as a Lego brick. Sure, it rolled like a canoe in high wind. And yes, it took corners like a filing cabinet on casters. But it was honest, durable, and full of strange charm. The 244DL wasn't built to excite you, it was built to protect you. And it did, better than anything else on the road. By the mid-1970s, the Volvo 244 was entering police service not only in Sweden, but across Europe and beyond. Built on the solid 240 series, the Polish versions offered far more than the civilian DL. Engines such as the B21A carbureted unit, the fuel-injected B21E, and in some cases the 6-cylinder B27E gave officers the performance needed for patrol and pursuit. Heavy-duty suspension, uprated brakes, and reinforced interiors with radios, sirens, and rotating beacons made the 244 a true service vehicle. By 1977, fleets from Scandinavia to Switzerland and the UK trusted the Volvo 244 for safety, reliability, and endurance. Did you know that in 1977, Volvo celebrated its 50th anniversary with a special edition called the 244DL Jubileum? It came in metallic silver, wrapped with a bold black and gold waistline stripe, and featured plush blue velour seats. Some markets also got a version based on the V6-powered 264, adding a bit of muscle to the birthday brick. A rare slice of Swedish celebration, boxed and belted. Red block engine, massive crash pad. The Volvo for the cautious and prepared. 3 cars, 3 philosophies. 1 gloriously boxy episode. The Range Rover 3-door. A farm tool in a dinner jacket. Britain's high-riding answer to the question, what if luxury got muddy? The BMW E21 3 Series. Sharp, balanced, rear-driven precision from Bavaria. It didn't just turn, it cornered like it meant it. With spreadsheets in the glove box. And the Volvo 244DL, a crash test bunker on wheels. Safe, solid, and engineered to survive divorce, recession, and possibly nuclear winter. The Range Rover told the world you had land. The BMW told it you had ambition. And the Volvo? That you had absolutely no time for nonsense. They don't build them like this anymore. Good thing memories don't rust. Drop yours in the comments. Next time on 4 Wheels and Fuel, we close out Series 1, December 1977, and we're not going quietly. We've got an Italian saloon that handled like a sports car, a Swedish coupe that outsmarted the road, and a Toyota with muscle car looks and fastback attitude. The finale takes you to Italy, Sweden, and all the way to the land of the rising sun. And 3 cars that gave the end of the decade a proper kick in the exhaust. So warm up the garage, flick on the fog lights, and don't miss episode 9, where Series 1 signs off in style.